With this map and some logic, I'm going to explain why a lot of the Passport Bros shaming and hate is just not going to work. So first, let's get a working definition on shame. So this is a Vox article from about 3.5 years ago, Why Shame is Good. Shame is known as a toxic feeling, but it can also be a force for good. There's one particular paragraph here. According to recent studies in evolutionary science, human beings developed the ability to feel shame because it helped promote social cohesion. Our inherited repertoire of emotions, including shame, evolved over the long millennia when we lived in small tribes, when our survival depended heavily on close cooperation and adherence to tribal expectations for behavior. Members who violate the rules would be shunned and shamed. Fear for that painful experience encouraged members to obey the rules and work together for the good of the tribe. So it comes from a communal sense, right? So one thing we have to make a distinction between is what a guilt-based culture is versus a shame-based culture. So this is an article, and I'll make sure it's in the description so you can read it. And it's talking about an expat who was in Hong Kong, and he witnessed this story. A middle-aged woman on the mainland lost her electricity because she hadn't paid her bill. In response, she undressed and stood before the power company staff for 2 hours. The police came and forced her to dress. After they left, she removed her clothes again. The power company reconnected her power without receiving payment. The company had shamed the woman by shutting off her power, so she shamed herself by standing naked in front of the staff, thereby shaming them. To remove the shame, they gave her what she wanted so that she would dress and leave. That can only happen in a culture where shaming works. So she knows that she can shame the company back in a way that's going to make the company act in a certain way. Now, that would never work in a guilt-based culture as we have in the West. So this is a video that does a very good job of explaining the difference between how honor-based cultures work and shame-based cultures work.
And remember, cultures use many words to talk about honor, like glory, face, name, or dignity.
Glory, face, dignity, and name, right? When was the last time you heard, don't besmirch the family name? That sounds like something that's very old, right? Or the dignity of the family name, or I want to save face, or to the glory of our, our group. That's not the way we really do things in the West, right?
Based cultures in the West appeal to laws and justice to define morality, but shame-based cultures in the East rely upon relationships and reputation to guide behavior. So think of honor and shame as a social credit rating. Since relationships and family are so important, your most valuable asset is your reputation in the community.
Because relationships and family are so important, that's why honor and dignity matter so much. Relationships, family.
Avoiding shame and acquiring honor is the operating system behind everyday life in non-Western cultures. That's why honor-shame cultures speak indirectly to preserve face and harmony. Talking directly can be offensive, so use words to communicate honor, not just ideas.
That's right.
Honor-shame cultures also focus on events because gatherings confirm group identity. Starting on time without someone means they are not important to the group. Honor-shame cultures are also collectivistic, so what one person does affects the entire community. People get their identity from the group, not individual accomplishment. Finally, honor-shame groups are incredibly hospitable because sharing food together means community and acceptance.
Okay, I don't know. He didn't have to put McDonald's there. He's clowning a little bit, but look at the difference. Indirect speech. You don't call people out directly. Even when you're talking to someone else about that person. In Japanese language, you don't do that either. You allude to certain issues. You don't call people out directly. And in the West, of course, we know it's his fault, it's your fault. That's the difference, right? Events are more about everyone being there or you can say on time, but everyone being there cooperating together. So a good example of that would be like how field day works. In the West, field day is about who's the fastest, who won the most medals, who's the MVP, who is the best athlete. If you see a field day here, it's about which team cooperated the best, Which team danced in unison the best? Which team had the best cooperation? And the whole field day event is a celebration of the group. It shows itself in just how it's a collectivistic society that you have. And being part of the collective is so important. And of course, hospitality is a big thing. If you know anything about Japan, you know how extremely hospitable they are. This is why shame is so powerful in Eastern cultures. It's so powerful because that focus on not only being part of the group, but having an honorable reputation in the group is the powerful driving force for behavior. And that would be the opposite of the culture we have in the West, which is a guilt culture that's based on myself as an individual. I want to make sure that it's not my fault. I didn't break the law. I didn't do anything wrong. Most guilt innocence cultures are individualistic, i.e. Western. We measure everything with the yardstick of right and wrong. We make laws that determine innocence and guilt. Knowing and exercising individual rights is a primary concern. So you know this from My Body, My Choice to all work, or all work is, whatever work, what I'm talking about. Any of the things that might be shameful, that's not the first thing that people are considering. They're thinking, is it legal? Am I free to do it? Because I should be able to be free to do it in a legal way, even if I'm doing something, consider something like OnlyFans, where if your family finds out, it's going to cast shame on the entirety of your family. But that's not the way it works, because I want to do what I want to do because it's my individual right. As opposed to shame culture, which shame cultures are collectivist, issues not right or wrong, but honorable, dishonorable, avoid shame are the highest goals, right? So now I want to show you the map. And if you look at the West almost exclusively are blue, which signify guilt-based cultures. So you look at North America, you look at basically the whole of Western Europe, the great part of South America, and of course you got Australia and New Zealand, and you have South Africa as well. All areas that were pretty much Western influenced areas, and is based on the rule of law, right? So basically Christian principles. Don't do things that are illegal or not seen as legal in terms of the rule of the law or the rule of God, right? But you look at the East and you see shame-based cultures. So these are all cultures that are all based on don't do something that's going to shame the group, right? So if you go somewhere and you do something silly or whatever, you're going to dishonor not just your family and your community, you're going to dishonor your entire country. And people carry that with them when they're traveling overseas. So I'll show you a good example of this. So in cultures that are shame-based cultures, you'll see things like this.
心よりお詫びを申し上げます。
Now you see that's an extra long, extra deep bow. This is because they had some issues with the train schedule, and so I think some people got stranded, and the schedule was off for like 10 hours. And so this is a normal thing to see. You're going to see things like this in cultures that are shame-based cultures, because in this instance, he shamed his company, and the company carries that shame with them. Now, in a guilt-based culture, a culture of OnlyFans, a culture of women protesting for considering all work as legal work, you know the work I'm talking about, in a culture where people are getting flued out, it's a very individualistic culture. And the point of it is, I can do what I want because it's legal. Did I do something illegal? Did I do something wrong? No? Then why are you shaming me? You shouldn't shame me. I feel no guilt, right? And so you use that argument against passport bros in a guilt-based culture, and guys are going to look at you like, you do OnlyFans. You use seeking arrangements. What do you want? What are you asking for me that you wouldn't do yourself? And that's why it's not going to work. So simply put, in a guilt culture, you can't really shame people. I mean, guilt works in guilt cultures and shame works in shame cultures. And we used to have a shame culture when we had churches and people working in communities. But we don't have that anymore. We have individuals that are going around exercising individual rights in free society. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.